So what I have here is from page 92 of a drift. I'm going to have to look at that, make sure. 92 because it's on the CEO compensation, which has kind of been the theme of this module. On page 92, Galloway talks about this change in CEO compensation as compared to the average worker's compensation. So he writes, quote, "It makes sense that a CEO is generally the highest paid employee of any company, but the growing discrepancy between CEO and average worker compensation does not. In 1965, the chiefs of America's largest 250 companies by revenue made 21 times the average compensation of their industry's workers. In 2020, the CEO to worker compensation ratio shot to 351 to 1. So let's imagine that I want to use this. So I'll go ahead and copy it because I'm going to paste it here. So I have my paragraph that I'm writing. I say economic inequality has grown in the U.S. over the last half century in ways that are hard to explain or justify. And then I put the quotation. And, what I would say that you've learned so far is we would do Galloway and 92 as and then the period there. I have this long quotation that we just read, and then I say it's doubtful that the value of the CEO is in fact more than 16 times what it was in 1965. Do CEOs have 16 times the knowledge and 16 times the ability that they did in the 1960s? And so let's imagine that's my paragraph. Now the problem that the reader runs into is that this quotation is very long. In fact, when you're reading it and your eye hits this quotation mark and it's going and going, you start to wonder, are we still in the quotation? So there's a better way to do this to make it visually easier to read, and that's to make a block quotation. And we have to do that when a quotation is longer than 3 lines. And so you can see here that with this word compensation, that's the end of my 3rd line. This word of has taken me beyond 3 lines. So anyway, so the definition again is long quotation is more than 3 lines. We're not counting sentences. And you have to do this when you have a long quotation. You have to indent the entire quotation. You have to remove the quotation marks. And then you have to put the period before the parenthetical citation. All right, so let's do that. So I am using here, again, you can see with Google Docs, I'm using the ruler. This has my first line indent, and then the rest of the lines go right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this quotation now and make it its own little paragraph. Now, by doing that, I have a problem. It looks like this, and by the way, I'm single spacing, so it's easier to have it all on one screen. I'm going to actually take this indent out here, right? And on this one, I'm going to move the whole paragraph, and indent it, and take the first line indent out. Okay, so now visually you can see the paragraph, you can see the quotation inside of it. This indenting means quotation. It's called, again, block quotation, that text block there. So since it means quotation, I'm going to remove the quotation marks, and now I'm going to put the parenthetical citation outside of the final period, and I'm going to remove that period there. The reason we're doing that is because the block quotation takes away the quotation marks, and we don't want to we don't want to assume that this parenthetical is a part of the quotation. So the period now goes inside. And that is a block quotation. It's required to do a block quotation if you have more than 3 lines. Okay, so once you hit a 4th line, you're done. Okay, so just drop it down line by line from the first quotation mark, and if you have a word pass straight down past the 3rd line down, then you're into the 4th line. All right, and you'll have to do that on this next assignment. You'll have to have a long quotation.